Jesus and Dennis, we've covered so much information today, and I know that there's a lot more we could cover, but I do want to turn back to each of you now for final closing remarks, maybe that one key takeaway you'd like our attendees to have as we wrap up today, something they can take with them to sort of absorb everything that we've covered. Jesus, we'll start with you.
Sure. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I think my takeaway would probably be really just the current regulatory environment. I know we talked about a couple of topics and things kind of happening geopolitically and other aspects, I think, of financial crime and sanctions and other topics. But I would really want to think about staying abreast of regulatory issues in the regulatory environment and how that applies to different institutions, to each person in their own institution or other companies. And potentially any changes that are required or any measures that should be in place to protect the institution going forward.
Thank you so much. Again, Dennis, any final thoughts, key takeaways from you?
Thanks, Elizabeth. I would suggest that post-COVID, as we're moving into very uncharted waters in relation to some new developments with respect to sanctions and sanctions evasions, it's essential for all people who are involved in protecting the financial institutions and their own organisations from AML risks to remind themselves what the fundamentals are. And those fundamentals include, of course, having an appropriate policy with sufficient controls which identifies the risks and the necessary measures to mitigate those risks. Institutions that have spent time and resources developing appropriate AML CTF policies and also the necessary training to ensure that all people who are tasked, from risk through to the front line through to people who are engaged with the regulators in implementing those policies, will put themselves in the best possible position to face the challenges which will emerge from the post-COVID environment. And we've seen from the APG typologies that COVID-related money laundering didn't appear in any of the 2022 typologies. So we are now moving into new terrain with new risks, and reminding ourselves of what the fundamentals are is always important in order to protect ourselves and creating the best environment moving forward to face these new risks.